Hi, my name is Holly True Verret. I want to welcome you to Inspiration for Daily Living. Today we're meeting in one of my absolute favorite secret hideaways here in Phoenix, Arizona, called Canaan in the Desert. Millions of people live in the Valley of the Sun and travel here every year for vacation, but I'll bet only a handful of people even know this place exists. With the backdrop of a beautiful mountain and the sound of a fountain in the background, it makes for a perfect setting for me to share today's message with you. I hope the message encourages you and builds you up and strengthens you to live an empowered life every day. The message for you today is about the importance of taking time every day to get away. You heard that right. I said taking time every day to get away. I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, are you kidding me? I can't even think about taking a week out of my time to get away once a year, or one night to get away every month for a date night, or I can't even possibly think about taking time every day to get away. That's exactly what I want you to start thinking about. You see, for years, I have always taken the time every day to get away. Whether that meant getting up a few hours before the household did, or going to bed after they went to bed, or if I'm at work, taking a break and walking around to clear my head. I have always scheduled the time every day to get away. That is up until recently. I'm going to share a very personal story of something that happened to me 2 weeks ago that is kind of embarrassing for someone who speaks the word and encourages people and builds people up, and somebody who's always talking about things that we should do in our lives to make sure that we don't fall apart. But I'm human like you are, and not Superwoman. I found myself to be not Wonder Woman. I don't have an invisible plane. And a couple of weeks ago, I had what you would refer to as a major breakdown, a mental and emotional breakdown that left me crying for literally 16 hours straight. I didn't even know if I was going to recover. At one point, I could not catch my breath. I had to be taken out of work. I was actually at my job in the middle of a shift and working, and it hit me out of nowhere, just like a ton of bricks, like a freight train. It just hit me. I was overcome with this severe emotion, with tears, with sadness. I didn't even know why. And they had to take me outside, and thank God for my amazing manager, because my manager, Gavin, came out and he talked to me, and I profusely apologized. I said, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll pull it together. I'll go back inside. And he said, no, you won't. No, you won't. You're going to go home. You're going to be with Sam. Sam's my husband. You are going to pray. You're going to talk to God. He'll hear you. And you're not coming back right now. I've covered your section. It was the biggest blessing and I don't even know how to thank him enough for what he did for me. But what had happened, to give you a little background, we have been through a lot of stress over the last couple of years, and 2 months ago we had a very tragic event hit our lives. It was something that I will not share with you on this video, but I will tell you that it devastated us to the core of our being. And you know, sometimes when you're suffering and you're going through something, you change the way that you are. In fact, you do change the way that you are. You change the way that you act, and your routine changes. And for me, what happened is I had to go into the go mode. You know what that is? You know, have to get things done. I've got to, figure out all these plans, and we just happened to have to travel across country. And so I had to get 6 kids and my husband and everything organized and travel across country, and then travel back, and then instantly go back to work. And it was a couple of weeks of where I was just constantly going. And 2 weeks after we got back, my husband had a mini stroke. Praise God, it wasn't a major stroke. He had one of those 2 years ago. I don't know if I could deal with that again. But he had a mini stroke, and it took a few days for me to be able to get him, back up on his feet. And so I went right back in that take care of people mode and that go mode. And then last weekend, on Saturday, I wake up and I look over at my husband, and his face literally is swelled twice as big as it normally is. And I was scheduled to work a double that day. And I called into work, and there was no one to cover my shifts. Now, I knew just by looking at him and the pain that he was in that something was seriously wrong. The man needs to go to a hospital. But because there was no one to cover my shift, I went to work. I just got in that stance of being strong, and I forged through, and I went to work, and I worked my double and got home about midnight and took care of him. And I had to work the next night, but so the next morning I get up, and he didn't want to go to the hospital at night because of so many people in the emergency room. So he made me wait until the morning, and I stressed about that. But in the morning I took him into the hospital, and come to find out he had a major infection in his mouth, and it was heading up. It had now gone into his eye, and his face were even bigger than they were on Saturday. And so I got him out of the hospital. They did send him home, lots of medicine and penicillin to try to take care of the infection. And I got him home, and I looked at the clock, and I had an hour and a half to get to work. So I had to rush to Walmart to get the prescriptions and rush back home, get him an ice pack, make sure he was in bed, talk to the kids about watching him, talk to the neighbor about making sure if there were any, serious needs that they would be there and in place. And I took off. I did what I do. I went to work, and I was doing my job and serving the people that were at our restaurant that day, and just going about my day. And all of a sudden, I had this overwhelming sense of panic come over me. This sense of grief. This thing that I can't even really explain to you. I felt like I was going to black out. I started to get dizzy. There was one of my coworkers right next to me, and I grabbed her arm. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And she's like, are you okay? And I said, no, I feel like I'm going to pass out. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I started to walk away from her, and I was walking to get some drinks for these people. And all of a sudden, it hit me. I began to cry. Another coworker came, and they're like, are you okay? Are you okay? It's not normal for people to see me distraught, and let alone crying. And I'm like, no, there's something wrong. And one of my managers was walking towards me, and he's like, I yelled his name. He's like, you don't have to yell at me. And I go, I'm not yelling at you. There's something wrong. And he looked at me, and I burst into tears, just burst into tears. And he said, what do you need? What do you need, Holly? And I'm like, I need a break. I need to get out of here. I don't know what's wrong. I need to get out of here. I need to get outside. Something's wrong. And he's like, go, do what you need to do. And I rushed outside, and after that happened, I was just crying. And like I said, my other manager came out, and he took care of me. And then a couple more coworkers came out, and another coworker named Sarah, her and her husband came and picked me up and took me home. I had to leave my car at work until the next day. And when I got home, I was just so distraught. It was a horrible turn of events. And for 16 hours, I just cried. There was a couple of hours in there, I think 2, that I actually cried myself to sleep, and I slept. But instantly when I woke up in the morning, I started to cry again. I don't know what happened after 16 hours. There were a lot of people praying for me. I can tell you that's probably what happened. But at that 16-hour point, I came around. I had stopped crying. I'd wiped my tears, and I started to think. I started to pray. I started to ask God, what in the world was that? What went wrong? And then I really felt the voice of the Lord speak to me and say, you have been neglecting you. I walked outside into our backyard and started to think about it, and thinking about the previous events that had taken place in the last couple of months, and the one thing that had been missing was me taking time for me to get away every day. My me time had been taken up by other people's events in their lives, by other demands, by other stresses. My me time, where I would get away, where I would have time to release, I had neglected. And because I had neglected that, my body wore down. We are not superhuman. We weren't created to be superhuman. We're never expected to be superhuman. We are human, and we have needs. And if we do not make those needs a priority, our bodies will break down. And that's exactly what happened. My body, my mind, my emotions, everything broke down. That event took place 2 weeks ago. Let me just tell you that in the last 2 weeks, I have not one day neglected my time to get away. I have made sure that I get up in the morning, or I stay up late, or if I'm at work and I'm a double, that I take some time for me. I've not neglected that time. I don't know what you're going through in your life. I don't know what stresses are in your life, but I know we all have them. They all come in different forms and at different times and through different events. But what I do know is what we have in common is that we all have stresses. We all have things that are on our hearts, that lay heavy and weigh heavy on our hearts, things that we need to release. We also have desires, dreams, hopes, things we want to accomplish. Those are things that if you do not get them out, they can also weigh heavy on your heart. This place right here, ever since I was a preteen, has been a place that I could come to get away. It's actually a walk through the events of Jesus's life, all the way from birth until he died on the cross to his resurrection. And what I said at the beginning, there's a fountain in the background. At the end of this path, there is a beautiful fountain, and written on the fountain all the way around are things like love, joy, peace, mercy, patience. And at each one of those words is a spigot that you can actually get a little plastic cup, paper cup, and you can go over and pray, take a drink, and get a refreshing. It's just a visual, it's just something tangible that you can do, that it kind of represents everything that this place is for. This is the sisters here at Canaan in the Desert are absolutely beautiful people. I remember as a child coming here and talking to the sisters, and their inspiring stories of how they made it through some winters with just oranges and grapefruits from the neighbors who brought them food. And their stories were absolutely amazing to me. It's a place that as a teenager I would come and get away whenever I was going through stresses or having issues at school or with relationships. I would ride my bike over here or walk over here, and I literally, over here there is a cross. I literally used to bring a notebook and write down on that a piece of paper and fold it up and stick it at the foot of the cross, saying, I give my cares to you, Jesus. I give my worry. I can't deal with this. In fact, 2 months ago, when we suffered the tragic loss of my stepson, Devin, my son, Braden, was with me one day, and I didn't even know what to do, but I said, Braden, we're going to Canaan in the Desert. He's like, what's that? And I said, you know that place when we moved here, I wanted to bring you guys, but you guys, nobody wanted to come? He's like, yeah, and I go, we're going there. And I brought Braden here that day, and we took out a piece of paper, and we wrote down our prayer, and we wrote down our worries and our concerns, and we laid them at the foot of the cross together. And when we left here, Braden said, Mom, this is the most peaceful place in Phoenix, or anywhere for that matter, that I've ever been. And he's right. Now, this is a physical place of somewhere that I know that I can come to get away. Now, I can't come here every single day. Sometimes I have to go outside in my backyard. Sometimes, literally, I'll take an hour bath, and I don't even like baths, but I'll take an hour bath and I'll just be in there and I'll be quiet and I'll shut out the noises of the day. Sometimes I take a walk around the block. For each and every one of us, the way that we will get away is going to be different. Not how we get away or where we get away that matters. It's the fact that we take the time to get away. We all need to build up, to be strengthened and encouraged. That's one of the things that I hope this video does. I hope it encourages you to see the importance of giving yourself the time that you need every day to get away, so that you can be there for those in your life who need you, so that you can be able to go after the dreams and hopes and desires that you have for your life and become successful in whatever it is God has called you to do, so that you can take offenses that people have done to you and you can release them. You can take time to forgive. I want you to see the importance of you. You know, God said that He created you with a purpose, that He knows the plans He has for you, plans to give you a hope, plans to give you a future. But He also says that you can't do this alone. Do you know that even Jesus, being fully God, when He walked on this earth, scheduled times every day to get away? He scheduled times to get away. He even told His disciples to go off to a desolate place to get away. He knew the importance. He was fully God. He had the mind of God in Him. Fully God. Yet He did not see the lack of needing to be in relationship with God, to have alone time, to pray. He didn't neglect that. Even He went away. The Garden of Gethsemane went away. Got away from everybody, even those closest to him, to pray, to spend time in communication with his Father. If it was good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. And it should be good enough for you. Now, I don't know what form you're going to take. Maybe you are a writer and you're going to get away and every day you're going to write. Maybe you are going to be a person who has a lot of offenses, that you've been wounded by many people, that your time to get away every day is going to be making a list or speaking it out. The name of the people who have hurt you. The name of the people who have offended you. Maybe for you, it's going to be for you to a time, maybe you have so much going on in your life, you need a time to get away, to just be silent, to turn off the cell phone, to turn off the internet, to turn off all the outer voices and just meditate and be at peace. Whatever it is and whatever form it takes, it doesn't matter. What matters is you. And you putting an importance on you. Because you have been created for a certain specific purpose in this life. And your life has meaning. To every single person who is in your life, the last thing that you ever want to do is to get to the end of your life and realize that you never took the time to become all you were created to be, that you never took the time to forgive, that you never took the time to create, that you never took the time to make an impact in this world.